Welcome to the RCV Roundtable with
Nikita.
and Austin.
So nice to have you guys as the first podcast. So things might be a little rusty or a little shaky, but we hope you listen to the end. So I guess you can get started by just introducing yourself a little bit.
Hi guys. Yes, my name is Austin. I was born and raised in the Tucson area, and I'm one of the latest regional grassroots organizer interns. I'm a current rising sophomore at Yale University, pursuing a major in environmental studies and a Spanish certificate. And I've been really politically motivated after growing up in such politically divisive times. And I really found a passion for organizing back in 2020 when I worked for Michelle Obama's nonpartisan nonprofit, When We All Vote. And I really helped with voter registration. And then from there, I co founded a national nonprofit called Rhizome with other students from When We All Vote, where we were activating students' identities in the action. And then this past semester, I was a legislative fellow with a club at Yale where I helped try to get ranked choice voting passed in the state of Connecticut. And that has really led me to my Rank the Vote organizer position today. And while I'm not immersed in problem sets or essays at Yale, you can see me dancing baile folklorico or doing Yale Club Swim. But yeah, here's Nikita.
Okay, well, little overachiever over there, doing everything under the sun, but I can't say I am any different. So, hi, I'm Nikita. I am a current, a rising junior at Yale, and I'm majoring in global affairs with a French certificate. I would say my main passions really lie in international human rights, specifically gender inequality, access to education, as well as like rights of vulnerable populations. Thus far, I've been really heavily involved with the American Red Cross as a youth volunteer, so I really love working with youth and organizing in that sense, um, as well as with the International Rescue Committee as a case management intern last summer. Amazing opportunity. And then through these experiences, I really got what I needed to go into a career and, follow my dreams of organizing as well as working for nonprofits. So at Yale, I am an editor for the Yale Human Rights Journal. I am vice president of Sabre College. Say what?
They rock.
Yes, because we're both in Sabre College. If you know Yale, we have residential college systems. So a little tidbit there. I'm also president of Yale Vote. So we are a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that tries to increase voter engagement and civic engagement on campus. And we've done a lot of work to kind of do voter registration, voter outreach. And it's been really rewarding. And I would say it definitely has gotten me to my position at Rank the Vote, where I am a digital organizer as well as a grassroots organizer for Maryland. So I do lots of blog post stuff for here. I do this podcast, and also lots of grassroots stuff to get our organization started in Maryland as well. I'm also the president and founder of the Nepali Student Society at Yale, as well as the cultural chair for the South Asian Society. I'm from Nepal, so I'm very proud of my culture and my heritage, and I love showing it off. So great to have those things. And I'm also currently conducting research on period poverty in rural areas of Nepal. So that's a little bit about me. It was not little,
Am
but
I really the overachiever here? Because, like,
I think we both are. I think we both are. So I guess now you know a little bit about us, but I bet you're wondering what ranked choice voting is. So ranked choice voting, also known as instant runoffs, improve the fairness in elections by allowing voters to rank the candidates in order of their preference, just like the same way you would, I don't know, rank your favorite ice cream flavors or your favorite deli meats. We kind of like rank our choices and our preferences all the time. So we just kind of want to do it with voting as well to make it easier and better for people to engage in the civic system in the U.S. Like I said, we have the option to rank candidates in order of preference, first, second, third, and so forth, and it goes into an automatic instant runoff. So we do not have to wait for months to get runoff, a second runoff election, and all that stuff. It's kind of already done for you.
yeah, and so a lot of people may think that ranked choice voting is like this fringe idea that's not really used in a lot of places. but actually it has a lot of historic precedent in the United States. Um, in other countries such as Australia and Ireland, they use it in their national elections, as well as the country of Malta, Scotland, and Wales also use it in their parliamentary elections. But in the US, over 63 American jurisdictions also use it, reaching approximately 13 million voters. Those states include Maine back in 2018, and Alaska most recently used it in their 2022 midterms. But also, over 58 cities use it, notably New York City and San Francisco are the biggest cities that use it. And little unknown fact is that actually many military and overseas voters have to use ranked choice voting, especially in elections where their states have runoff elections. There's not enough time for their ballot to come back for the 2-month time frame that there's between elections, so they have to use ranked choice voting.
So we work for Rank the Vote, which is a 501(c)(3) organization. This is the technical definition of our organization, with a vision that the national adoption of ranked choice voting could create a political and social culture with elections based on a competition of the best ideas rather than scorched earth politics, and a government that is truly accountable to we the people. Ranked choice voting forces politicians to campaign on the issues rather than pandering on voter bloc or sound bites. The mission of Rank the Vote is simple: help everyday people build robust movements for ranked choice voting in their own states.
Yeah, and so in summary, we're a nonpartisan nonprofit, and national organization that's rapidly growing through grassroots efforts. Yeah, so
Okay.
I'm gonna talk a little bit about how we got involved. So for me personally, I was really busy this past spring semester.
I
Didn't really
wonder why.
I didn't really have time to look through internships, but luckily, some clubs at Yale are really good about connecting their members with internships, especially organizing internships. And I saw that Rank the Vote was on there. And given my work this past semester by working with HB 5087, which I got to testify in front of the Connecticut General Assembly for, that bill would have enacted ranked choice voting in Connecticut. And I was like, ooh, like perfect. I can continue my efforts. And I wanted to continue my efforts in my home state of Arizona. So yeah, that's how I got involved with Rank the Vote.
Oh, what a beautiful story. I would say my journey with Rank the Vote started last year. So I had initially, before really understanding, because I feel like especially in our age, like you're always looking for the next thing, like internships, jobs, or whatever it may be. So last summer, I like applied to too many internships because it was my first time applying to stuff, so I didn't really know how it worked. And I ended up having an interview with Nathan, who is Nathan Lockwood. He is the executive director of Rank the Vote. And back then, there were only maybe one or two positions open for interns. It was a big organization, but in terms of their intern capacity, pretty small back then. I had an interview and it went amazing. And I've already done a lot of voter issue, civic engagement work at Yale. And so I kind of wanted to continue that. I unfortunately did not take the internship last year, fun fact. And so this summer, it just kind of kept coming to me where I realized a lot, especially with the politics and everything that happened last year, that there needs to be a way to kind of amend and fix our political system. And I truly do think that ranked choice voting is one of those ways that we can do that. So I reached back out to Nathan, and he happily agreed to have me on. But since last year, like I said, there were one or two interns at most. Now there is over 40, which is absolutely insane and so amazing, and just goes to show how much this organization is growing and changing, and the movement is picking up, and it's really exciting to see. So yeah, that's kind of how I got started. And the reason why we kind of want to do this podcast is because I feel like, especially Gen Z, like we're always listening to something. It really doesn't matter if it's like you're watching a video, you're listening to something, like you kind of always are consuming media. And I've always wanted to do a podcast. So decided, why not take the opportunity? Austin, is there a particular reason you wanted to start the podcast?
Yeah, I mean, I had a little podcast that I worked on with like other kids from across the country. And I really liked that moment, and I was like, "Oh, I have some expertise. I have a little bit of experience in podcasts." And Nikita and me are both familiar with each other at school. Actually, fun fact: we did not know that both of us were gonna be doing this internship,
We
so it
did
was just a
not.
totally big surprise. I was like, I
What a
saw it,
wonderful
you
surprise.
know, I saw in the directory, like, Nikita Paudel, and I was like, "Oh my god." I DM'd her on Instagram immediately, and I was like, "Oh my god." And then in that conversation, she's like, "Okay, I wanna start a podcast." And I'm like, "I love podcasts. I had a podcast. Let's do it." And yeah, I really wanted to do this podcast as well because I think a lot of Americans don't know what ranked choice voting is, and it's a great way to like introduce people about like the story behind ranked choice voting, the efforts behind it, and ultimately why we should introduce it and why it's a big solution to our current problems in this country. So yeah, in our upcoming episodes, we'll have some surprises for you guys. We'll get into that later.
Yeah, we'll get into it, a little foreshadowing if you will. But yeah, like we're kind of talking about like the purpose for this podcast is to kind of bring together the ranked choice voting advocate community by sharing stories of different organizers around the country. We have an organization, especially with Rank the Vote. I know there are many other organizations that do this type of work, but just us, we have an organization, like a grassroots organization in like so many different states, and those movements are really picking up. So we want to make sure there is an avenue for all of these different people to hear each other's stories because while, you know, especially when you're doing grassroots work, it can feel very fragmented. I think it's really good to remind yourself that there is a bigger purpose, that, you know, this all connects in some space. So that's kind of one of the main reasons, and just kind of discussing the challenges and successes, especially of different campaigns around the country. We've had some amazing successes, for example, in Oregon, of just passing the legislature, the House, was amazing, and like Maine and Alaska. But there's also some clear challenges that we have to kind of getting this adopted nationally. So, you know, just bringing those stories. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, in particular, maybe later on in future episodes, I can touch upon my work with Voter Choice Arizona, which I'm specifically working with. Hopefully, we'll get our ballot petition on in 2024. With that, we're going to need over 500,000 signatures. So that's just one example of the insane and really grassroots efforts that we have to do to really implement this change in voting systems.
Yeah, and like another thing is that like, you know, change happens with the next generation. I think I can say this as my own personal opinion that there are a lot of old people in politics. There are a lot of old people making decisions that impact the young people who are actually going to be living through the consequences of these decisions for the rest of our lives. And so I think it's really important to kind of bring and engage youth and the younger generation into a conversation about voter engagement and ranked choice voting because, you know, we're the ones ultimately who are going to be reaping these repercussions. And so if anyone's going to change it, it's going to be us. And if anyone needs to change it, it's also going to be us. And, you know, hopefully this all can spread the message of ranked choice voting throughout the country. I mean, it's a big goal, but, you know, we dream big here. And we also are looking to get endorsements from different politicians through interviews, through different viewers. We love to engage with, you know, our viewers and everything. So yeah, we just, you know, want to make get the word out about that. And I guess a little bit for the structure of the podcast. We don't want to make it too long because our lovely editor Nor is editing these podcasts, so we don't want to make her life a living hell. So they're just going to be 20 to 30 minutes long, and Austin's going to go over the potential future episode list, I guess.
Yeah. So this first episode is just introducing the whole podcast, briefly touching upon ranked choice voting. I know we like really quickly went through that. But in our next episode, we'll talk about debunking myths of ranked choice voting. And in that episode, we'll go more in depth about how ranked choice voting works and all the myths related to it. Because surprisingly enough, there are people out there that hate this system. Like they just don't like it, period. But we're gonna
Point
talk about
blank, period.
we're gonna talk about those the arguments against and talk about why they're not good arguments and how ultimately ranked choice voting is better than how we currently vote. And then in
Mhm.
our third episode, hopefully we'll get to talk to an organizer from Maine. We'll talk about the success story of Maine, which was the first state in the country to enact ranked choice voting in their elections. And then in our fourth episode, we'll talk about the most recent state, Alaska, and we might have a special guest for you guys. Not, I don't want to announce the name yet, but hopefully we'll talk
It's
to
gonna be
some.
some work to
Yeah,
to acquire the surprise.
yes,
So we'll keep it on the DL for now. We'll
yes,
see if it happens. Fingers crossed. Hope y'all got your fingers crossed for us too.
yeah. But we'll talk to some organizers from Alaska, hopefully, and talk about the success story with Alaska because there's been a lot of controversy with Alaska right now and their system. But it, in my opinion, it's been very effective. Their bipartisan coalition and their legislature has been passing a lot of good bills. So that's just one success story.
Hats off to Alaska.
Yes. So on August 7th, we will have hopefully an Ohio organizer to talk to. And we'll talk about what's going on in Ohio. And particularly, they have a ballot measure where they're gonna vote on whether future ballot measures have to get over 60% of the vote to become enacted. And we'll talk about how those kind of measures are very anti-democratic and are only aimed at trying to prevent people from be participating in direct democracy.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have a whole bunch of great things coming your way. And so our posting schedule is just going to be bi-weekly. So we are going to have another episode coming out June 28th, July 12th, July 26th, and August 7th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So mark your calendars, turn on your little post notifications, and you can listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and anywhere that you can find your podcast. I've always wanted to say that my entire life. I love when people say that on podcasts I listen to. So that was a dream come true for me. And yeah, so that's all we have for you today. We cannot wait to be back next week and debunking the myths. Anything else you want to add? So,
Yeah, let's say our little slogan.
oh my God. Okay, okay, okay. Wait, no, you say it. You say it because if we say it together, it's not going to work.
Context, Nikita is in Switzerland right now. So we are having 8 hour difference between us. So if we try to ever say anything at the same time, it's probably not gonna work like
It
that.
just doesn't work. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
What time is
okay.
it for you right now, Austin?
It's currently 1 p.m.
It's currently 10 p.m. for me.
Oh, ooh, okay. So to end off the podcast, we're gonna say, embrace your voice, unlock the choice. Yeah.
What a beautiful, beautiful catchphrase.
Invented by the Miss Nikita right here.
Oh my gosh, stop. I cannot take the credit. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye.